It's my experience that nearly everyone who suffers from tick-borne illness and or autoimmune illness has heavy metals, and that's why they got sick to begin with. They were not able to clear these illnesses out of their body because they had high heavy metal loads.
Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Beyond Labels, and today I have a very special guest. Today we are sharing Mark's healing journey. Mark recovered from Lyme disease, Bartonella, Mycoplasma Pneumonia, Chlamydia Pneumonia, high levels of heavy metals, and food allergies. He fully reversed these conditions, and he's willing to come on the show today and share his story about how he did this. And again, Joel and I decided that we are going to showcase these healing stories because we want to try to change the narrative in the mainstream media and provide a different perspective that complete healing is possible. So Mark, thank you for your willingness to come on the show. Welcome to Beyond Labels.
Thank you, Sina.
So let's start with how long ago were you diagnosed with each of these conditions, and how long have you been healed from them?
I developed a number of tick-borne illnesses in 2008, and I fully recovered from the illnesses at the end of 2018. So I was sick with those illnesses for about a decade.
Wow. That must have been a very challenging time period for you.
It was, and I was also struck by a tractor trailer in 2014 to make matters worse.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yes. So, okay, so you've been healed since 2018.
Yes.
So, about 4 years?
A little over 3, yeah.
Little over 3? Okay, perfect. So, why don't you go ahead and start and tell us, how did you actually reverse these conditions? You know, did you seek help first from Western medicine doctors? Was that helpful? And if not, how did you actually go about reversing these?
Initially, when I realized what was wrong with me, I followed standard protocol and I took doxycycline for 3 weeks when I realized I had been bitten by a tick and was developing symptoms. Unfortunately, it did not help a whole lot. I subsequently went for IV antibiotics, which did help, but it made a lot of other things much worse. I still suffered from the conditions and many of the side effects as a result of. So I then embarked on a healing journey using natural means to reverse all of the things that I had wrong with me. And it took a long time, but I was successful.
That's remarkable. And your story is so common, right? That we see this happening to a lot of people who really are committed to trying to fully heal, and they go the Western route, and sometimes it helps some, makes the other things worse, and sometimes it just makes things worse. So I really commend you for sticking with it and really being dedicated to yourself and loving yourself enough to put in the time and the effort that it takes to find, you know, your solutions. So let's talk about some of these solutions. How did you start actually reversing these once you got outside of Western medicine and you were looking for more natural remedies?
Well, I tried a lot of things, but I would say what really worked, there were a few things. I used a GB4000 machine. It's a type of Rife machine. That helped somewhat. The problem with these machines is you have to really figure out exactly what program that you need. And there are so many, it's not always easy to pinpoint precisely what that is. But that helped a lot. And I would strongly recommend the GB4000 product for a variety of conditions. I still have it.
Can you explain to our listeners what that machine does?
Essentially, there's a small device. I guess you could say it's a computer of sorts that hooks up. I actually have mine hooked up to a mat, and you put in a certain program that's supposed to be a healing frequency for a specific condition. You put it at a various amp level for a certain amount of time, going up to 5 minutes, and then you lay on the mat and hopefully experience the healing energy for that specific condition that you have.
I love that. And so does it come with some type of guide that tells you like what frequency matches what type of ailment?
It does, but you still have to specify depending on what's wrong with you. So while there might be something for, let's say, Lyme disease, for example, there may be different programs, and you have to decide how long you're going to run it for, how strong you want it to be, and whatnot.
Yeah, I love this concept. So I myself have never tried that type of machine, but I do use various forms of energy medicine. I used it to help me heal, and I use it to stay in optimal health now. So you can do these things through like sound therapy, different types of music therapy. There's different types of sound meditations, or even just learning to move your energy through your body, with your own hands and with your mind. But I love this concept that you have of this mat. Like I may actually get one of those machines just to try this out.
There are a lot of them out there. I mean, some work better than others, in my opinion.
All right. And which one again is it that you like? The
I
GB
used the
4000?
GB4000 machine.
Okay. Okay. And you did find it helpful.
Very much so, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, what other tools did you utilize?
I went to a local practitioner for sequential homeopathy, which was developed by the Banerjees in Calcutta. They actually have a homeopathic hospital there. And I also used some herbal support, including turpentine, among other things, to rid myself of parasites and to actually cure the diseases themselves. And I also did some oral chelation. One product I used, it was actually made illegal because it worked so well. It was called OSR, developed by Boyd Haley. I knew someone that had stockpiled it after it became illegal in 2010. And that helped clear a lot of the heavy metals out of my system. It's my experience that nearly everyone who suffers from tick-borne illness and or autoimmune illness has heavy metals, and that's why they got sick to begin with. They were not able to clear these illnesses out of their body because they had high heavy metal loads.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I would concur. A lot, we're finding that to be true. Even now reported in the scientific literature that there is definitely an issue with heavy metals. And once your, metabolic pathways for detoxification kind of get bogged down, like the P450 pathway, for instance, once they get bogged down, then it does become substantially harder to eliminate these heavy metals from your system. Like a load that you would normally be able to eliminate, like arsenic, for instance, is water soluble, and that's one of the metals I was not able to effectively eliminate from my body because my detox pathways had essentially shut down, or nearly shut down.
Sure.
So like we're saying, something that your body would normally be able to detox, you could become very sensitive to it. So yes, I completely agree. So I'm interested too, and you said that's OSR product. So did the FDA make that illegal?
Yes, it was available between 2008 and 2010. It was developed by Boyd Haley, and it actually worked a lot of wonders for children with autism and Asperger's.
Uh-huh.
And then it was made illegal. The developer, Boyd Haley, is currently working out of Europe. He's trying to make a similar product available again under the name Emeramide. So let's hope that does occur. I was able to think a lot more clearly after taking one pill a day for just a month.
Wow.
And, to just give you an example, when I was young, I knew how to play chess. I learned how to play chess. I didn't find it that difficult. I hadn't been able to play chess for years. It was just too much for me to do intellectually. I am now able to play chess very well again. And I saw an immediate difference by the end of that month on OSR in 2018.
Wow.
So I have only wonderful things to say about that product.
Okay, so it's not available now. So anyone listening to this now, we can't get it. So
Not legally, no.
Oh, not legally. Okay. Is there? So I know you said that Amerimide is something that the original formulator is working on. So hopefully that's going to become available soon. When that becomes available, do you mind letting me know so I can let the listeners know?
Hopefully I will find out. I'm not in touch with the developer. I have periodically looked into it just out of curiosity, just to see what was going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just recommend looking it up online and seeing what's going on with it. They do have some compassionate use, that kind of thing. but it's not a generally available product.
Okay. Have you found or have you looked for anything else on the market that is similar to OSR? Like anything that's still on the market?
I have not. I have not needed it, thankfully. But you want to be careful because there could be knockoff products being sold online. But you might know someone who still has OSR available. But you might want to try to get compassionate use, a sample of it. But hopefully, it will be available in the near future.
Okay. Okay, well that's good. Well, that's a little bit of hope. Okay, great. So you did that, you tried herbals, you tried the sequential homeopathy. Can you explain to our listeners what is sequential homeopathy?
I'm not a practitioner, but after having gone through it, essentially, you take certain homeopathic preparations X amount of days for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, you go through muscle testing, also known as dowsing. You figure out what you need, and then you go ahead and develop a game plan for it.
Okay. And you found that, so all of these methods that you're listening, all these tools, you have found each of these to have helped in your recovery, correct?
Yes, substantially. I will say that I had several different tick-borne illnesses, one of which was Chlamydia Pneumonia. That was the only one I was able to cure completely using the GB4000 machine. It took a few weeks. I ran one program every day. It was gone. Never came back.
Wow. Wow. And this really does speak to, one of the concepts that Jill and I talk about quite frequently is the impact that your biofield has on your overall health and wellness. And I've said many times, in my opinion, the root cause of disease lies in the biofield. And you're seeing evidence of that in just hearing your story, so this is very intriguing to me. Okay, but so let's move on for the sake of time. So you tried all these different tools, and I know you tried other things as well. Do you mind sharing some of the other tools that you tried?
Well, there have been many. I just like to cover several things that I have found work very well and would be of great interest to the listeners that are available, some more widely than others, to heal. One I really want to place special emphasis on is direct IV ozone. I'm not talking about 10 pass. I'm not talking about MAH. I'm not talking about rectal insufflation. I'm talking about direct IV ozone, where someone has a generator. Then they take a tube, they take a needle and they inject it into you. It is legal, but a lot of doctors do not want to advertise that they actually do it because, according to the law, you're not able to say that it can, that it can cure anything. So I have had that done since I healed from those illnesses, because I have still been in the process of trying to get my body and all of my organs up to 100%, which I'm just about at now. So I've only seen remarkable things as a result of IV ozone to myself, as well as I've seen other people undergo the same kind of procedure. It does great things. Initially, you will probably feel pretty terrible for minutes up to several hours. You may spike a fever. You may have to run to the bathroom. You may feel like you just have to lay down on the floor and sleep. You're probably not going to feel good initially, but the next day you will feel amazing. There is a website available. It's called Ozone Without Borders. There are a number of practitioners that use direct IV ozone on there. Not everyone is on there, but many of them are. If I had known about direct IV ozone in 2008, I think I would have recovered very quickly. I had heard of it, but had not used it. I will say there are other somewhat similar methods like IV hydrogen peroxide, as well as ultraviolet light therapy, that are very good, but they are not as strong as direct IV ozone therapy.
Right. That's wonderful. Yeah, I don't think most of us, initially go to direct IV ozone therapy. So this is very intriguing to me. I'm gonna look more into this one. And very exciting that you can actually access it and it's legal and you can get a doctor to do it. So I'm very grateful that you provided that website so that it can help our listeners if they're interested in this. Okay, wonderful. What other kind of techniques or tools did you use?
Something that I had done also since I healed, just as sort of a preventative measure, was I had cavitation surgery on my wisdom teeth. I never had any other cavities, just my wisdom teeth pulled. And what I had done was the dentist essentially opened up the cavitations of where the wisdom teeth were pulled. She cleaned them out because a conventional dentist is typically not going to spend much time cleaning out cavitations, whether they're for wisdom teeth or any other kind of tooth. And then she took a small amount of my blood, ozonated my blood, and then filled the cavitations with my ozonated blood. There were some stitches put in, which she took out a couple of weeks later. Obviously, it's a dental procedure. It is somewhat painful, but it was a preventative measure because I have known people with autoimmune illnesses, including my mother, who, as soon as they had cavitation surgery, initially they may have felt like they had the flu for a week, and then they felt substantially better because one of the major sources of what was going on negatively in their bodies was a result of buildup of bad bacteria in these cavitations for years or decades. And some people think, oh, well, I'll get the root canals out, I'll get the mercury fillings out. That's not always enough. And I will say that when you have the cavitation surgery, it's important not to have something artificial put in. It's important to have the ozonated blood because, you know, you're biocompatible to that. That's not going to cause a problem if you have a trained practitioner do it. And it's not endorsed by the American Dental Association, but there are dentists all over the country who do it. A lot of them do it under the radar. I had mine done by a very talented dentist in New Jersey, but it is not unreasonable. It's not difficult to find somebody to do it. And it's not cheap, but it's not overly exorbitant either.
So would this be like a biological dentist that you would see?
Yes, not all not all biological dentists are created equal.
Yes.
But you want to make sure that if they do the cavitation surgery, that they will ozonate your blood and fill the cavitations that way. That's very important. You want to ask that.
Okay. Yeah, I love this because so I've known, you know, in working with people and trying to help them reverse illnesses, I've known a lot of people who have had, like you said, the mercury fillings removed and root canals removed, and you know the mercury fillings, obviously for the heavy metal, contaminants there. Root canals removed because of the possible infections, right? That are in under that canal, under that root canal, but I haven't heard anybody talk about cavitation surgery until you crossed my path. And this makes complete sense that there could be, you know, these pockets there once you have those wisdom teeth removed where you do have these infections that can ensue. So I love this. It's one more piece, you know, for somebody like you said, like your mom who had the mercury fillings and the root canal removed and it wasn't enough. This is one more clue that somebody can look at, you know, when they're trying to heal. So I love that you brought this up. You also had previously mentioned, I think in an email to me, that cavitation surgery is not legal in all states, correct?
Pennsylvania can really give dentists a hard time. Pennsylvania is notorious for giving dentists a hard time with cavitation surgery. So if you live in Pennsylvania, you will likely have to go to another state.
Okay. So it doesn't mean if you live in Pennsylvania, right, that there's no hope for you. It just means you're going to have to go to a different state to get it done.
Sure.
Legal. Okay,
You have
perfect.
to cross the state line. Yes.
Yeah, that's good to know. Good to know. Okay, great. And then I would love, I know whatever else you have on your list, we want to hear it.
Sure.
I'm really, really excited to hear about your work with the chiropractor and how that chiropractor helped you to reverse food allergies.
Certainly. His name is Ted Corin. He practices in suburban Philadelphia, and he does, I guess he calls it Corin specific technique, also abbreviated as KST. And what he does, I guess you could call it muscle testing or dowsing. He decides what's wrong with you and then adjusts you accordingly. It sounds like, I guess, what you would call woo-woo, but it works. And it's done wonders for me as well as many other patients. He goes around giving seminars about what he does, trying to teach others to do it. And among other things, I had developed many food allergies as a result of the many illnesses that I suffered from. And they're all gone now. And, he would just go ahead and figure out, I would mention certain things that made me allergic. He would say, okay, think about them, or sometimes actually bring that product in, hold on to it. He would adjust me accordingly in less than a minute. And then thereafter, I would maybe stay away from that product for a day or two. Then I would be able to eat it with impunity, have no problem.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, your husband doesn't like allium products very much. Members of the allium family, like onion and garlic,
Yeah.
might do wonders on him.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so fascinating to me. It combines so many areas that I'm so passionate about, not only reversing food allergies, I mean, if you think about it, question to all the listeners, how often do you hear somebody say that within 2-3 days they reversed a food allergy, right? I mean, that's remarkable. So I fully believe that we can reverse food sensitivities as well as food allergies, but in my experience, it's taken longer than that. So this is very intriguing to me. And again, it goes back into, you're working on the energetic level as well here, right? Just the fact of having the food in there with you, thinking of it is an energetic process. Touching it by certainly is the frequency of the food there, that's trying to resonate with your body. And then when he adjusts, or he or she, whoever the chiropractor is that you can find that can do this, when they're adjusting you on that physical level, it is, in my mind, it's bringing the body into harmony with that food, with the energy resonance of that food. So this is, for me, I know for some people, this is like what you described as woo-woo. For me, this is like jackpot. I love talking about these kinds of things. It makes so much sense once you understand, the biofield and the energetic fields and how all foods have energetic frequencies, right? And some don't align with you and some do. So this is very intriguing. And so how many foods do you think you were allergic to before you saw this chiropractor? And was he able to help you reverse all of those food allergies?
I would say I had probably close to it, maybe about a dozen. I am now allergy free.
Wow. Wow. And how long has it been since you've been allergy free?
Well, I started going to him in 2018. I still go to him occasionally. I will find an allergy to something that I seldom eat that I wasn't really even aware of. For instance, recently I had something with tamarind. I didn't feel that great afterwards. I started developing something on my skin, and I normally don't eat tamarind. And I realized I have an allergy to it. I went to him. He reversed that. Subsequently, I had something with tamarind. I was fine.
Wow. That's amazing. So if somebody is interested in this type of technology, you called it KST.
Yes.
Is there an easy way that they can look online to find a chiropractor who does implement this type of technique?
Yes, just look under the website. It's for Ted Koren, TEDDKOREN. He has trained practitioners the world over.
Oh.
So I don't know if they're all equal. I've only gone to him. But people should be able to locate KST practitioners throughout the United States and the world.
Okay, that's very helpful. I'm actually going to find one for myself just to see. I don't have any food allergies or sensitivities right now, but just to have the experience,
He also
go ahead.
He also works on various emotional blockages. They'll tell you to think about something that a negative experience, adjust you accordingly, and then thinking about that experience will no longer bother you.
I love that. Yeah, so I've heard we have another guest coming up on the show sometime in the next few months, Dr. Christine Schaffner, and
Sure.
she works on the energetic level as well, and she talks about relieving blockages. We know you can store energy, emotional energy like memories and such. You store them in your biofield, but also your structured water. And she talked about storing them in connective tissue as well, and her work with helping to actually physically release those stuck emotions by working on the fascia. So this reminds me of that type of work. So does he actually work on the fascia? Like, is it hands on where he's touching you to try to help these emotional blockages release themselves? or is this a different type of hands-off technique?
He uses, I call it a chiropractic drill. I don't know what the actual name for it is, but it feels like a drill on your body, and he'll, find the part of your body that needs to be adjusted, work on that for usually no more than a number of seconds. And then, it might be more than one body part, but that's how he goes about his practice.
Wow. Yeah, that's really fascinating. So is this, you mentioned, off camera, doing work on the vagus nerve. Did you do that work with him, or is the vagal work something that you did on your own?
That's something I'm just starting to do now. That's one of the few parts of my body that I have not worked on that I want to get back into ship shape.
Okay, okay. And what are you doing to work on your vagal tone?
Well, I just purchased a product from Innovita for that, and I've used Innovita products for a number of other organs and parts of my body that were damaged, not working optimally as a result of my illnesses. As I say, I got over all the illnesses, but then I still wasn't functioning that great because I needed to build my body back up.
Hmm.
So I've used a number of products, most of which are from Innovita, to do that with great success.
Well, that's fantastic. So, yeah, vagal work is something that I work on too on a daily basis. I think it's critical for not only healing from any kind of condition, but for achieving optimal health and wellness. So it is part of my daily practice as well. Now, are there any other tools that you utilized, or techniques, or any kind of remedies?
Yes, I just want to mention a couple of other things that
Okay.
I think have a lot of promise for many of your listeners. One is combo therapy, KAMBO. It's actually the secretion of an Amazonian toad. Again, it sounds a little bit woo-woo, but it's actually applied transdermally. I went to a practitioner up near Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and usually they do a session of 3. Usually, the first 2 are a day apart. Then you come back a couple of weeks later for the other one, and it is a purgative. So you're going to feel very bad. You're going to vomit several times. They give you a bucket. And in addition to getting rid of many toxins in your body, it also brings out a lot of emotional issues. With me, it just came out immediately. Things that I never had thought about before suddenly came to the forefront, and I realized that a lot of my emotions were essentially holding me back from healing.
Mm.
So it sounds a little bit strange, and it makes you feel pretty terrible when you're doing it, but you recover very quickly. Usually within an hour, 2 hours at most, you're fine. And I want to note that this is not a hallucinogen. It's not going to make you see stars or stripes or anything. It's going to make you feel very sick for a short period of time, but it is well worth it. So I want to give a plug for that. I also want to mention just a couple of other things quickly.
Wait, can we go back to that
Sure.
one real quickly? Okay.
Sure.
So this is called it's Cambo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay, Cambo
Cambo or
therapy.
combo.
Cambo combo. Okay. And so if someone's interested in doing this, like I'm interested in this now that you mentioned it, I had not heard of this before. This sounds like it would be a great emotional detox. And I'm all about emotional detoxification. So this is right up my alley. So how would somebody go about finding this therapy?
There are combo practitioners worldwide. The one I went to is in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, but they are worldwide. I recommend just going online and looking.
So you would just type in the Cambo practitioners in your area. Okay,
Yes.
so that's what they're called, Cambo practitioner. So anybody listening, if you want to try that, look for a Cambo practitioner online in your area. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A couple of other things I want to mention. I was in a very bad accident, which I am now almost recovered from. And that is in large part mostly to the work of a doctor by the name of Dean Howell and a woman who works with him named Rebecca. Uh, Most conventional doctors and non-conventional doctors will tell you that once bones calcify, that there's really not much that you can do other than learn to live with your pain. He actually reverses those calcifications. And he does what is really considered impossible. And that pain that those physical blockages that you feel every day go away. Having gone to him many times, I've seen other people, other patients who've had the same great success that I have. I'm talking about very difficult cases. I was one, and I am almost healed from that serious accident. It's taken a while, but it works. These people have done wonders for me. Wow. And I have only great things to say about the work that they do. I don't know anyone else in the world that does the work that Dean Howell does. He has a website called Howell, HOWELL, He calls it the Neurocranial Technique. Some people actually go to him to actually expand the width of their face for essentially a cosmetic issue, but he does many other things, including what I just mentioned. It doesn't feel good while you're having to go through it. It's very painful, but again, it is well worth it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so is this similar to like if you're going to go to a chiropractor and have like a hands-on physical adjustment? This is like physical work. So we're not working like on the energetic level, the emotional level. This is physical work.
It is physical as well as energetic. I will say, based on my experience with chiropractors, it makes going to a chiropractor look like a walk in the park. This is a very, very intense kind of work that they do. Okay. But it is well worth it. I have seen the work on many people, not just myself. It's amazing. I don't know anyone else that can do what they do.
Okay, and you said, so that's Howell, HOWELLNCR.com, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect. Thank you. You're giving such fantastic resources here, Mark. I think our listeners and myself are very grateful. Do you have anything else? Any other insights that you might want to share with us that might give
Yes, I just want to conclude with a couple of remedies that work as not only for parasites, but also for COVID. I mentioned that I used turpentine to get rid of worms, and among other things. What I did was I used 5 milliliters of liquid turpentine from a farm in Georgia, and I combined that. Usually you want a carrier with duck fat, so I would use 3 tablespoons and half a teaspoon of duck fat with 5 milliliters of turpentine on an empty stomach. Not feel so great for a few hours afterwards, and then hopefully after that you're fine. You can start eating again, and great. That works very well. I also wanted to give a plug for a conventional medicine that is a great dewormer and antiparasitic called ivermectin. That also has a lot of potential against COVID, among many other things. I use that as well. Not a lot, but I used it a couple of times with success. And one other product called Methylene Blue. When I had a bad cold, I guess it was about a year and a half ago. It may have been COVID. It may have been something else. I don't know what it was. I took 6 drops of Methylene Blue over the course of a day. I used 2 drops 3 times a day. And I combined that with a strong multivitamin with a lot of zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C. Within a day and a half of the onset of symptoms, my symptoms were gone. I continued for 3 days afterwards to make sure that everything was gone. And Methylene Blue was developed in the late 19th century as an anti-malarial drug, much like hydrochloroquine is used today. It is legal. Many people use it to clean aquariums. It's a blue dye. And at a homeopathic dose combined with zinc and many other nutrients, it is a legal and a very available way of getting rid of bad colds and viruses.
Okay, wonderful. That's very helpful. And I just want to add that neither Mark nor myself are medical doctors, so we're not trying to prescribe or diagnose anything. Mark's just sharing his story and what has worked for him. All right, so you got to talk with your healthcare practitioners and not just start medicating yourself. Okay, just a little plug in there, so a little disclaimer. But yeah, this is just remarkable. And as I'm taking notes as you've been speaking, and what I find truly remarkable about your story is not just that you reversed everything, but the time and the dedication and your resilience in going through all these what seem to be quite sometimes involved protocols all in this pursuit to fully heal yourself. And I just think that's so commendable. It's such a great example of just how free somebody wants to be, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and about how if you want that freedom, that you can obtain it, right? You just have to have the perseverance and the heart to do it. And that's what I see in your story, is just this heart that, you want that health, you want that freedom. And I find it just absolutely inspiring. So I am so grateful that you took the time to come on the show and to share your story, your insights, the remedies that worked for you. Is there anything else that you want to leave the listener with?
Well, I think we've covered everything very well. I hope I've given the listeners who are suffering a lot of hope and a lot of ideas and remedies for healing and recovering their lives and getting back to where I've gotten and many others as a result of the things that I've mentioned today.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I hope to meet you someday and we can play a game of chess.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for coming on the show. And to all of our listeners and our viewers, thank you. And Joel and I just really want to encourage and inspire everybody, just as Mark has done here, sharing his story, to know deep in your heart that any condition that you have, it is temporary. If you want to heal from it, the answer is out there. You can find it and you can do it. You can be healthy, happy, and free. All right, we will see you next week. Bye-bye.